Hey there everybody, just getting on with the next in the JSA box set. It's the Oniwaban Ninja, and I'm going to do this guy a little bit differently. I want to try and make it look like, because he uses the thermoptic camouflage, I want to kind of try and make it look like he's glowing from the inside out, like it's the holographic kind of projectors running through it. So what I'm trying to do first is just roughly run white to all of the gaps, all of like normally what you'd kind of try and run as deep shadow, and I'm going to run that as white. And this is because what I want is for the lightest part of the tones that I'm using to actually be in the recesses, so it goes from light to dark. Again, this doesn't have to be a mega careful process. You can see I'm just sort of lobbing it in. I'll clean this up again at various stages in painting. This is also partly an experiment for, I've been thinking that with the A-left forces, what I would do is try and sort of do all of them as like an internal glow. I mean, I'm looking at Vallejo's work again, not Vallejo, Angel's work. I really love the sort of glowing eyes stuff he does, and I want to sort of bring some of that kind of quality to these guys. But I thought it'd look quite cool if it was like, I'll go for the green colour that if you look at the box cover, Angel uses on his. But I'm going to invert the tonal process, which means that working from black isn't necessarily the best. Maybe it should have gone white and then but you see I want, no, it works having the black, because the black will knock back anything which isn't recessed. I mean, arguably could have painted it white and then dry it, sort of part dry painted, not quite dry brushed, black over the top in order to create the differentiation. But this is an interesting method, way of going about it, so this is what I'm doing. Also, whenever you're doing these kind of things, also smudge it a bit. Don't do that. You always have decisions that you have to make about your miniatures, right? I've said numerous times before, I don't really like to copy exactly. Also, I want to give the luminescent inner glow kind of a bit of a experimentation, because a lot of the time with painting it's just as long as you know roughly what you're doing and how the paint will behave, it turns out pretty damn good, or pretty much how you want it to turn out. And then this should be, well, I've got to sort out some bits and pieces, and then I'll be moving on to some how to plays, just to introduce people and sort of more of an introduction to the Infinity universe. I don't want to give too much of their background away, because that's kind of how that's how they make their living, really. They're kind enough to give away the rules for free. They've made a game where, in all honesty, looking at season 9, if you check out people who are like more experienced on this stuff than me, so you can pick up an army. It doesn't actually cost that much, and you can pick up, I think for about 50-60 quid you can probably pick up sort of tournament worthy viable army, which you know, if you look at across the game board, that's actually pretty cheap considering that you've already got all the rules for free, all the army list for free, all the army list resource building materials for free. They give away an awful lot with this game. So, I mean, considering that a lot of the time these days sort of one box board game as such, you're probably spending a minimum of 80 quid, if not in excess of 100. Yeah, as in, oh god, I don't even know what that would be, like, you know, 100, 150 US dollars or something. But like, this kind of gaming has always been pretty expensive. Casting processes. Also, it's very space consuming. You need quite a lot of space in order to be able to play these kind of games. I mean, something like this where it's a 4 foot by 4 foot is pretty minimal. Actually, I think nowadays a lot of the board game companies which are sort of moving into the realms of tabletop gaming, like Fantasy Flight or equivalent. They are very much building tabletop games on a designed for your kitchen table kind of, or dining room table, rather than the traditional sort of 6 foot by 4 foot, 4 foot by 4 foot, 8 foot by 4 foot, 12 foot by 6 foot kind of. 12 foot by 6 foot is a big table now, it's nice to play on. It's about as big a table as you can reach across without it becoming a problem, but it's really nice when you get to. I can certainly remember playing Napoleon at 25 mils, I can't remember what the name of the rules was now. And when we were playing that, it was pretty magnificent. I mean, considering as well when you play Napoleonic, you end up with a sort of end-to-end table jam-packed with miniatures. Even if you scale a unit down to like one man represents 10 or 20, you still end up with like, I don't know, 30 odd figures in a unit, it's 50 odd figures in a unit, depending on the army you're using. So in terms of spectacularness, goes pretty well. I'm not going to show it simultaneously, but there is going to be there is another ninja who will be the toe camouflage. I think I'm going to do that as another set of videos just so you can see how this paint is differently. Well, I'm kind of doing these long play videos as a not so much as a guide of how to paint things as a, if you want someone to paint with and you want somebody who's painting at the same time, you can always paint along with me. I might do something that interests you. I'm trying to run white in between the fingers here because again I want to keep that kind of inverse separation, I suppose. Normally you would put the shading in order to split the fingers. Instead I'm putting the white into the gaps. Running it across the palm. If you run across the palm, if you look at the palm of your hand, you notice there's these two key lines, so just paint those in and it'll start to work itself out for you. So, going for some, I don't know, this is a bit different. I've never actually used this technique myself before. Well, not on this kind of painting. I've used it before I've been just drawing really scribbly rubbish drawings. Yeah, I draw a lot. I like drawing because drawing's about working through ideas. At the moment I'm so busy doing a shed load of painting and making, and it's just because I'm trying to get on top of this. But also it's taking a lot of time because I'm trying to do it up to as high standards as I can actually manage. This is the other thing, I mean, you can actually paint battlefields ready, like, you know, just get colours down and make decisions about things pretty easily. Yeah, if you just want to sort of bosh them out, there is nothing stopping you from using some very simple techniques, like if you watch the Kaisotsu Butai grayscale, if you do that actually with a colour, where you just choose a general colour and you tone everything with that colour, and then you touch in details afterwards. So you just like, you know, pick out eyes, especially on sort of fully armoured troops where you don't have any sort of skin tone to worry about or any additional stuff. Then you can actually, well, you can paint entire armies pretty damn quickly. Especially if you like, I don't know, if you want to paint something that's sandy coloured, say, get a sort of a dark sandy colour in spray paint format, or if you possess well, actually depends. If not on these miniatures, don't use spray paint on these miniatures. The detail on them is too fine. Spray paint absolutely wrecks them. The other thing I am doing is I am keeping the box front cover to hand, and I'm finding it's very useful just to check it every now and again, just to make sure that what you just to make sure that you're hitting up all the right details at the right places at the right times. There's also an argument that says you shouldn't assemble your miniatures until after you have painted them. Don't subscribe to this sort of set of ideas, but it's like now you see I'm having to reach past things. It becomes difficult to see. It becomes difficult to paint. But I'm a firm believer in assembly first. Well, there's plenty of arguments to not assemble, i.e. for those of you who assemble your miniatures, never quite get around to painting them, get them on the battlefield, use them, and then sort of never ever quite get around to painting them. That's bad practice. But you know, it happens. The other thing that's very hard about reaching in like this is making sure that I'm getting into the recesses with the white rather than picking out the high edges. So the other place I just need to do is the eyes. There's a balance here between keeping your paint moist, not wet, your paint moist, not too thin it, not thinning it out too much. And especially if you're going to work into these kind of little details where I want to hit up. There are three tiny, I don't even know if you can see them, but there are three tiny little dots here. Oh, I just want to get into the dots. I don't want to overpaint around them. And I just want to get this line in. And so I'm trying to pick out all of the indented lines with the white right now. And why I'm doing this will become apparent. Also why it doesn't have to be perfect will become apparent as well. But that was a bit too imperfect. So you can remove bits of paint. It's easier to remove from the high surfaces as well, so that's kind of handy right now. Now what you can't really see is there's a whole load of like spinal cordy stuff. I don't really want to run too deep into it. I do just want to get this other hand around the thumb here. Get the wrist. Because this is there's armour on this wrist in addition, so it's not just a comm log strapped over the top of the musculature. There's a whole like vambrace. I'm just trying to get these. I've been thinking about maybe as well. I'm going to stick as the Japanese sectorial as my primary. I'm thinking a lot about doing a full like toe ninja outfit. Supporting or well, even just a full toe ninja outfit, not supporting them. I know you're right. But for tournament conditions, I believe at the moment you need to have. I haven't read the ITS 9 rules yet. I will go through them at some point. Okay, so the next phase is just to, I'm using fluorescent green from the Vallejo range, and I'm just literally chucking it on. I just had to give this a real good shake. I've been finding with all of these fluorescents they're very thin. Not even sure whether I really successfully got this to mix. It looks much yellower in the pot, but that could be a trick of the pigment interacting with sort of the colour of the plastic on the pot. And so first of all I'm doing this, so I've got the white down, I'm running this fluorescent green into it, and and I want the fluorescent green to stain the areas around it already. That is entirely intentional. So again, this is it's a technique really for how you can make something glow from within. In fact, I should have done this earlier. Oops. It was just I'll leave it for a minute. This paint dries pretty damn quickly, so it doesn't really matter that I've just touched that in right now. You find that with a lot of modern gaming acrylics as well. They do tend to dry incredibly quickly. So laying down this luminous green, and it doesn't matter that it's slightly bluer, it's just to give that the area an initial tint. And to cover the white with green. And this will be the beginning of the sort of glow from within effect. The next tier is going to be using I want to get the highlighting. This is like the base coat for it. I want to get the highlighting the next tier. I will bring this up probably with like a yellow green dry brush. Well, again, not dry brush. A wet dry brush. That makes sense. So I'll just be picking out highlights in a slightly different, more yellowy tone of green. So it's the aim is to make it look like it's glowing, so it should have light edges that affect everything around it. The coverage on this paint's a little bit funny. I might need to give it more of a shake, but I'm not exactly sure what tone it's meant to come out as, you see. Like I say, when it looks a bit yellower in the pot than it does going down. This is much closer to jade green kind of colour. And just blocking in the face. The great thing about this is because it's very translucent, is when you're doing things like the face here, and because you're doing this all first, you don't have to be too careful about how you apply it. It kind of deals with most things for you. And just in the case of what I'm doing, just daub it on, and sorry it's windy, it's singing to me. So making sure, I just want to make sure there's really good coverage, that's all. I don't want some of it trying to come back to white. Okay, it's behaving somewhat like an ink. It's trying to move into the gaps and trying to not give me coverage on the white. Actually, a little bit annoying. Yeah, so that's just the that was already starting to look halfway decent. What's heading towards what I want already, which is that kind of glowing quality. So next thing I'm just going to start blocking in all the blacks. Catch you in a second. Now using good old heavy charcoal grey, just to start blocking in all of the blacks. This will be I think a two-tone knockback. So I will use the heavy charcoal grey. Then I will put a light grey highlight on it, so it's high contrast. Then I'll ink it, and then I'll probably have to re-highlight it. I doubt if there'll be enough contrast. So I am leaving the recesses black. Again, I'm using the opaque greys. I really like the heavy opaque range. The high pigment density gives you good coverage, and it means that I can correct errors I've made in messing up my undercoat, basically, because it provides that kind of level of coverage. I've got a couple other ninjas to go in this particular army list. I'm gonna have to, like I say, check out the ITS because I want to make my lists ITS compatible. Doesn't make it essential for them to be compatible, but I would like them to be. It's maybe not something I'm doing instantaneously, but I think in the future I'm going to head towards, well, natural progression, isn't it? You start playing something and then you move towards playing tournaments. Also, I mean, when I was a kid, I played in, I don't know, well, I played a lot of campaign games rather than tournaments, really. And actually, I found that's where a large sort of portion of joy came from. It was a lot of historical campaigns. I don't know. We fought 7 Years' War a couple of times. One game of it, we had like, oh no, 16 odd players in the campaign as well. So we had like all the sort of European powers represented, plus a lot of the Middle Eastern and Indian powers represented. It got pretty crazy, and I invariably ended up playing the French because it was like we'd been playing it for quite some time, and I seemed to get lumbered with the French, both in Napoleonic, and I always sort of wanted to play the British, but never got to play them, just because of people who already had armies. You know, they played with those armies, and I was like, well, what isn't being played, I'll play them. So I always ended up playing the French. I grew rather fond of them in many respects as an army. They were pretty good, but it also meant I was always at loggerheads with the British, which was interesting to say the least. And the guy that played the British, a guy called Al from Club Association Wargaming, if you're still there, awesome. Hope you're doing well. We were always at loggerheads, it was pretty funny. So yeah, I mean, I used to played a lot of different things and changed regularly. But again, the charcoal grey, it creates that. I really like it actually because it gives you something which isn't black, which is virtually black, which is actually a bit of a saviour in that respect. Because he's got some grenades on his belt as well. Smoke grenades, I presume, being a ninja and all. Just trying to clip in all the details. There's a couple little bits like where the hakama are opened up, and I think I'm going to get some white and green into there in a minute as well. But I really want to keep the colour scheme pretty simple. I really want it to be the sort of luminescent green and the sort of grayscale black. And I haven't decided about its sword yet. I think for the moment it's just going to get knocked down in black, and I'll see if I can do some fancy effects on it for you. so that you can see how to do colour fades on the blade. I quite like the idea of having a ninja clan. Also, I'm really interested in taking some of the ideas from sort of the colonial stuff I played in the past. We used to have a whole game of, it was Indian Mutiny. It was really about escaping. I want to transpose that onto Ariadne. So it's you ever seen that awful film Dog Soldiers? A British film about soldiers fighting werewolves. Where I thought you could do something not wholly dissimilar to that on Ariadne. But I think the rules will need a little bit of tinkering with, because or serious constraints on what people actually get. Like only let them have irregulars, or make all the regulars irregular, or have so many antipodes that you're kind of pretty stuffed. Because the joy of the Indian Mutiny thing was, it wasn't so much winning the game as how long could you survive for, and could you be heroic enough to earn yourself a Victoria Cross, because invariably everybody died, and invariably, you know, the mutineers took the day, which is also nice. So it was like it's kind of what colonialism deserves, right? It was the bane of the world. It set up all of the problems which have led to the problems of today. It's just us trying to emulate the Romans in many respects, and the different degrees, succeeding, failing. But it's pretty unpleasant business, and it's certainly not an example of the best of humanity, especially when ultimately, although it was the Victorians very much, oh, we're here to educate you, make you better people. Actually, a lot of the time what it really came down to is if you fit into our capitalist profile, it gives us a way of making more money, and it is really it's an integral part of how capitalism functions, and you see it in modern capitalism. It's sort of falling to pieces in part because it can't do. Oh god, lost my little dots. Damn it! But it's falling apart in part because it can't expand quickly enough, and partly that's because there's nobody to conquer, and there aren't infinite resources, or presumed infinite resources, which is sort of information that we've only really arrived at in probably the past 50 years. I think even in World War II there was a tail end of the attitude. In fact, World War II is the thing that really gets us to the point of realising that there aren't infinite resources. So I'm just going to touch in these various little bits with white and then blob in the fluorescent green, and see I'm catching his toes. This is a real pain. Okay, so his foot sits just over the edge of the base, right, which means whenever you're holding the base you've got to be careful. Same on the other toe. Yep, this is going to be a problem. So even enamel's a pretty solid undercoat, which is why I've been using it for these. But you can see even with enamel, if you're constantly rubbing something with your fingers, you will take the paint off. So you've got to be pretty careful. So I'm just going to transfer over to white. I'm just trying to look very carefully, and just, you can't really see, I can see, just at the lead edge of the sword blade, or not the sword blade, the underneath the scabbard there. And then I think I'm just going to have to block these in. I don't think I have much choice, and I'd prefer to get into the I'm going to have to touch the grey back in again in a second, but that's all good. I'm just going to re-put in my dots here as well. One in the centre here. Yes. Yeah, see, this is where it starts getting difficult. Straight away. One bottom left here. One bottom right here. I'm just trying to avoid smudging any paint on his feet still. And then, because it just dries so... Ooh, I missed a bit as well. It dries so quickly. I'm just dropping that straight in there. And straight in here. Straight into the neck. Yeah, I'm going to have to retouch all this dark grey again, but yeah, that was stupid of me missing the white in the first place, to be honest with you. I just wasn't sure whether it would look right, and as I was putting in the grey I realised these ratios mean that of sort of quantity of green to black as such means that yes, it's a necessary evil. And then just need to get in here, just inside, oops. Yeah, and as ever, I mean, this is literally how quick it dries, and you can just put the paint in and it's not mixing. So then, touching up, I mean, this is a, you know, you just gotta do it. And if you do it straight away, then it's done. Hello, Mr. Wind. So yeah, you just got to be super careful at this sort of point where you're blocking stuff back in, colouring stuff, like little things like just the edge of this belt where I went over the line, the edge of this pistol grip. Just making sure your colours are sort of trapped into the places they're meant to be, the bottom edge of this. Also, just so you can see, it's, all this stuff's pretty easy to correct, really. I think I don't put too much green. Confusing. Trying to pick these details out correct. There we go. Just going to have to keep on blobbing in these toes and just touching them in, making sure they're done. That's going to be an ongoing nightmare. Yeah, and that's sort of the first layer of paint, really. I was to finish off this base layer just with touching in. Actually, you know what? Essentially, that is the base colour on that dude. Pretty symbols, pretty quick. Just making sure that you get all the bits touched in. So the next tier is going to be highlights, and then it'll be all like first wave lighting. Finally then, I'm just finishing off the base colouring by just touching in all of the black panels with a bit of lime green. I'm running the lime green straight over the black. I want it to have that illuminated from within. So I want the lime green to be like the darker tone. Does that make sense? It's much yellower, which is what gives it the and you can almost dry brush this actually. Say almost because you don't want a trashy brush. It's just introducing that colour. And that will make it. Just found a bit where I missed some of the green. So I'm just going to blob that in. We'll come back to that bit in a moment. Just touching it in. I think I'll call that the base coat because this is really just to establish the light and dark areas of colour. This isn't really it's a frame of reference. And this dude's comlogs are already going to clash with this colour scheme. And because his colour scheme is going to be green, his comlog's going to end up being luminous orange. So that's going to be fun. Again, trying to remember to keep my fingers away from the toes. Keep away from the toes, man. Don't want to wreck that stuff. Yes, there you have it. Let's starting to look like it's glowing from within. It's easier said than done, quite fair. And I'm intrigued to see how this all turns out anyway. Also, I'm just intrigued to try and make this look right. I mean, I could paint it the same way that I was painting the camo marker, the toe camo marker for this, but where you paint it dark and then highlight it up. But I'm quite into this as an idea because it gives you higher contrast possibilities, because you're using again, there's a bit of green I just completely missed. Yeah, it gives you higher contrast possibilities because you're actually in control of the paint. And I quite like this balance between slightly blue-green paint and yellow-green paint, so that the yellow-green paint is ending up. I think that's actually going to work pretty well. So there you go. Hope it's been used to you, and I hope you've enjoyed. Cheers everybody, have a good one. Enjoy your painting. Bye bye.